Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Those Eyeshadows update. I'm kind of ahead of schedule. I think I still have like 10 days left to actually update this, but I'm already, I have another 3 shades that I can roll out. So I just decided to film it now and kind of be done with this and be able to start with some new fresh shades, because the ones that are staying are kind of a little bit more complicated shades. So hopefully you will enjoy this video. In case you're new here, hi, my name's Sasha. I love indie makeup, I love colorful makeup, I love eyeshadows, I love project panning. I have like project pan palette, project and Panda palette, project 20 uses, project 50 uses, project level up. So I'm doing all of these things and I'm very successful so far. I've been very successful so far. So I will pop up a picture of the last 5 shades that I've rolled in previous updates. I'm always working with 3 shades that are randomized from palettes that I want to completely use up this year or ban this year. One shade is from the list of proms that is made by Lainey, I believe. So I'll link that idea down below with that channel. And then the 5th shade is always just like a random shade from my entire collection. So I just used a random number generator for that as well. So hopefully that's like, hopefully that makes sense. And you should be seeing the picture from last months with all the shades that I've been working on. And I want you to pause this video and try to guess which of the shades I've been able to completely use up, because one of them was a project use up. So the shadows that I've been working on, first up was the Think shade from the Tinkerbell palette by Colourpop. That's the kind of light green shimmer. Then next up is the shade Crypt from Shroud Cosmetics from the Hello Beam palette. Another one is called Matcha Cookie and it's from the Those Eye Merry Christmas palette. Then we have a Franken shade that is partly made of the shade Neverland from Tinkerbell palette and also the shade Snowflake from Christmas Eve palette by Those Eye. And the last 5th shade is called Slay and it's from Blem Bunny from the Lin's palette. So I want you to pause this video and vote down below which one of them you think it is. You can either write down the shade name or just the a number that you think it's gonna be. So hopefully you've written down your guesses. And it's actually the shade that has been here for the longest. It's been here from the initial introduction, and it's the shade Think from Tinkerbell palette. Here's the palette, and this is how it looks like. Let me actually kind of, so this is the shade Think, and as you can see the pen is completely empty. I actually used it like 3 times, I believe, 2, 3 on my nails. It's kind of ugly right now because it's been a while since I did my nails, but yeah, I've used it a couple times on my nails. Once it was just like it has gotten to the point where there was only a little bit of product in the around the borders, and it was just impossible to use it on my eyes because it is such a soft satin shade and it's just really hard to pick up on the brush. So we're done with it, and it's really funny because we started at 11 uses and now it has 31 uses. So the last day that was kind of like, okay, I can roll it out because it has 20 uses. I was able to use it up. There was like an itty bitty amount of product left, but because it's such a soft formula, like it kind of shattered eventually. Like once you were in the corners, it would just shatter and fall apart. So yeah, after after 20 uses in this project, I was able to completely use it up, and I have one new shiny magnetic pen that I can use for other purposes, and that obviously is very exciting for me. So that's the first shade, and we can roll it out. Then next up, from the first update, there was the shade Crypt from the Hello Beam palette from Shroud Cosmetics. That one was so hard. Like, I've been working on it for so long and it's been excruciating, but I hope you can see that we have a pan happening. I will obviously pop up the picture from last month and this month as well. But yeah, we have a shiny, beautiful little pan. This pan is so deep. It's insane how deep it is. I was using this a lot as a brow shade, and you might think that that's weird, but I would mix it with like blue or purple, depending on what kind of effect I wanted it to give, just to use it and to hit pan. And obviously the smaller brush, the quicker the pan is gonna show up, because this is very autumnal shade, and like I wasn't really in the mood for that. If I was wearing like green, obviously this worked, but otherwise like it was just eh. So yeah, it took forever. um when I rolled it in, there was 5 uses in this shade, so I haven't really used it a lot um at all, and now we're at 20 uses, so I've used it 15 times to be able to hit a pen, and I've swatched it multiple times as well because I was trying to find out how I can use it in the brow, so I needed to like swatch it and try it. So that was really annoying. And when I rolled this one in, it had 3.29 grams, and now it has 3.23 grams. So I was able to use up 0.6 gram of product. I don't know how accurate that is, but you know, I have like a tiny little scale for coffee, like when you're making a coffee in the machine, right? So it should be pretty accurate, but also who knows. But yeah, we can get rid of this one. Well, not completely get rid of it, but you know, it isn't in the project anymore. And then from the previous update, we have the matcha cookie shade, which is actually in my art palette because I just repressed it here because I have very little product left of that shade, and I've been able to use it multiple times right now. But there's still product. This one I have to completely use up because when it was in the original pan in the Merry Christmas palette, it already had a huge pan. So for me the rule is either hitting a pan, and if the shade already has a pan, when I roll it in, I have to use up the entire shade, or use it 20 times, obviously, whichever works for me. So for the shade matcha cookie that is in the art palette, when I rolled it in last month, it had 28 uses, and right now it has 35 uses. I've used it 8 times, which I think is pretty nice. Like 8 green looks in a month is enough. I do love greens, but also I like to like change it up a bit. So I really tried to use it. I'm trying to find a shade that I can mix this with to make a brown, which is probably gonna have to be like a little bit more muted purple. So yeah, like dusty purple, I believe, would work nicely with this shade, but it is very pigmented, so I'm gonna have to try it, and it might not even work. Sometimes if you have like really pigmented eyeshadows, they don't really mix that well with other eyeshadows, so I'm gonna have to try it. But I would love to be able to use it in my brows and like kind of use it up because I have so many green eyeshadows. I have so many, so you know, it's fine. And then the next shade that was last month, that was rolled last month. Where is the palette? Oh, here. It's the shade Neverland. No, sorry, it's the shade Snowflake, but I have it frankened with the shade Neverland from the Tinkerbell palette by Colourpop. So we were at 34 uses of the shade Snowflake, and now we're at 45 uses. When I rolled it in, this shade, this like Franken shade, weighed 2.41 grams. And right now it weighs 2.18 grams. So we were able to use 0.23 grams of this product. I've used it twice on my nails as well, but I would only do like 3 nails with this shade, and then the rest with the pink shade. So, you know, couple grams were definitely that way, but the rest was on my eyes, and I would use it all over the like second half of the lid and like really pack it on. So that's that. So that's for the shade Snowflake. And then the last shade that was rolled in, which was a random shade from my entire collection, is the shade Slay from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, from the Lens collection. So it had 2 uses when I rolled it in, because the Lens palette is like a really new palette in my collection. And right now it has 9 uses, and I will show up a picture, but it has a pan. It's really hard to see because the eyeshadow and the pan are like not that far from each other, like the shade is kind of similar. But we have a wonderful little tiny pan happening. When I rolled it in, this shade had 2.34 grams, and right now it has 2.27 grams, so I was able to use up 0.07 grams of product, and it makes me so happy, and I'm so excited about that. So this one can get back to the original packaging. And the shades that are left for us to work on is the shade Matcha Cookie and the shade Snowflake, that is Franken with the shade Neverland. And we're going to be rolling 3 new shades into the project. So on this hand, let me swatch the Matcha Cookie, which is staying in the project, and it's probably going to stay for a while. I'm going to try to like use it up soon, but it's going to stay a while. So this is Matcha Cookie. And then next up is the Snowflake / Neverland, which is definitely gonna stay for a while because I have to use it up. So that's right underneath. So we have 2 greens, and I hope that whatever we're gonna pick is not gonna be green, because you know it is getting kind of old and annoying a little bit. Like, not annoying, but I feel like even in the previous months it was very green heavy, so it would be just nice to have something else. So now for the roll-ins. So we have to pick 1 shade from the project pan list, like the Panda palette, Pando's palette, then 1 from the random prompts, and 1 random from my entire collection. So when it comes to the eligible shades from the palettes that I want to pan this year, we have 102 options. Obviously some of them, if I'm gonna roll something that's already done, like the pink shade, I'm just gonna re-roll, but the max number will be 102. So let me get my random number generator, set it up so that you can see. Can you see like this, right? You're gonna be able to see. And then let's just tap, and it's 77. So the number 77 is 72. 77 is the shade Eclipse from my Mini Charms palette by Beauty Bay. So it's the shade Eclipse. Let me write that down. clips. And I'll tell you the weight and everything later on. Now for the list of prompts, we have 82 prompts. So let me write down 82. And let's roll one of the prompts. The prompts is really fun because you can kind of like pick whatever the hell you want. And it just has to like loosely fit. And we have 70. Oh. An eyeshadow that starts with the letter S. So I'm gonna have to find something with the letter S. And then a random number from my entire collection. So that's 966. Let me change that so that you can see. I think you can see right now. And it is 416. Yes, 416. 416. 416 is the shade Amethyst from the Muse palette. So let me find the shades. Let me find the prompt shade and find out how many uses I have currently, what the weight is and all that kind of stuff, and I'll be right back with all the numbers and with the swatches. Okay, so apart from these two shades, we have as the random shade from my palettes that I want to pan, it's the Mini Charms palette by Beauty Bay, and it picked the shade Eclipse, which is this one, the 6th shade. Eclipse I've only used once before, so you know it's gonna be interesting. It's kind of like a gray to purple duochrome. All of these are duochromes, by the way, so let me kind of swatch that for you. I don't know how well you'll see the shade, but it is kind of like a soft gray to purple shade. I will obviously show you close-ups of this as well. And yeah, I've only used it once, but the shade next to it, which is called Cosmic, it took me 10 uses to hit a pan. So I don't think this one, since I'm gonna use it in like larger areas, maybe it's like a base for lighter shades, it shouldn't be that hard. But also I'm gonna use like bigger brush with that. Well, we'll see, but it shouldn't be that much because these only have 1 gram of product and the pans are kind of shallow. I just weighed the entire palette because obviously I can't take the shade out, and it weighs 64.54 grams, so we'll see how far we're gonna get with that one. And obviously I'm probably gonna use like other shades from this palette as well, but you know, just to have some kind of number. Then from the prompts, we had to find a shade that is starting with the letter S, and obviously I want to mainly pick shades that are in the palettes that I want to completely use up or hit pan on. So you know, that's kind of my main goal, and I decided to go towards the Christmas Eve palette by Oden's Eye because it has a shade that is called Snow Light that already had a pan when it was in the original packaging, and I repressed it here in my Frogtail palette by MIYO Makeup. This is how it looks like, by the way, and you can't really see that. Maybe it will be obvious from the pictures, but it is very shallow product, so it's gonna be really easy for me. I need a couple like easier shades, okay? But these pens are really shallow, and the product itself is, there's not a lot in there. And I've already used this shade 36 times, and usually for me Oden's Eye shimmers last me like 50 to 60 uses, like at the maximum. And this one is quite flaky and it's light, so obviously I kind of use it everywhere. So this one shouldn't really be too hard. But yeah, 36 uses right now, and I have to use it up completely because it already had a pan in the previous packaging. And this entire palette currently weighs 161.72 grams. I'm probably mostly gonna use this palette only for this shade and then maybe this, which is another Franken shade. But otherwise, I don't think I'm gonna actually reach for her all that much. So I'm just gonna really focus on this to see how many grams there really were for this particular palette. And that should be like a little bit of an easier shade. Let me actually swatch it. I completely forgot to do that. But it should be like a little bit easier shade. And this one is gorgeous. It is such a shiny, like cool toned yellow gold, which has so much green in it. I actually wear it in the inner corner today. It's just that's the only reason why I remembered that I have it. But yeah, it's a really, really pretty shade. And as you can see, like it sparkles a lot, but it is kind of flaky sometimes, so I have to be a little bit more careful when I use it. But it's a beautiful shade, and especially with this purple right on top of it, like it's so pretty, and obviously will work wonderfully with the greens. So I feel like it's a great addition to this color story. And another great addition to this color story is the Muse palette by Cosmic Beauty. I haven't really used this palette in a while. Like it's kind of getting, I don't know, I've been focusing on other products in my collection, so I've only used this palette in its entirety 19 times, which is not great considering that I kind of bought it to be like my everyday palette. But the shade Amethyst, which is this one, I've used it 3 times so far. It's not my favorite of the palette because it's like the darkest shade, or almost the darkest shade in the palette, and I feel like it's slightly too dark considering the matte shades that are in this palette. But it's still really pretty. I'm gonna swatch it for you while I talk. It's not as sparkly, but it's the darker shade, so I don't need it to be super sparkly. I can use toppers over that as well. This is how it looks like. It's the last shade, and this is kind of squishy shade, so I feel like it shouldn't be that hard. I've never hit a pan on Cosmic Beauty's shades, but I don't think it's that hard, and I've heard from people that it's kind of that the pants are kind of shallow. So hopefully, I'm glad that we have mostly shimmers. That will be a lot easier for me to use. And this palette currently weighs 208.79 grams. So we'll see how far we're gonna get with this. I'm probably not gonna use the palette as a whole all that much, because obviously this is like very autumnal color story, but a couple of these shades I can definitely use. Like a couple times I could use some of the greens with the rest of the color story. I definitely like the pinks and the purples, like the lighter shades. It has a really nice brown called Haze that is perfect for my eyebrows. So, you know, I can definitely like touch it here and there. And it has a nice highlighter, so it's kind of like pinky purpley iridescent highlighter. So I might reach for it a couple times just as a palette. And yeah, this is the color story. I think this is so far the best color story I've gotten. Like I wasn't really angry at the previous color stories either, but I think today is definitely a lot better than what we've had so far. And yeah, I mean, like the matcha cookie shade shouldn't be that hard considering that I really don't have that much product left. Amethyst, I think since it's gushy and the pants are supposed to be shallow, this should be easy. Obviously, the Snowlight is also kind of easier. The Neverland slash Snowflake will just be a harder shade, and it's probably gonna stay for more than a month. And I have no clue about this Eclipse shade. Like it could be easy and it could be hard, and we'll never know until we get there. But wish me luck. Let me know which shades are you currently working on, whether it's Those Eyeshadows or just like shades that you would like to hit a pan on. I was very successful last month. Not only I hit 2 pans and 1 shade completely used that, but I also have 2 more pans in my singles collection that I just like randomly used and created a pan. So I've been having like a really good April, and I hope May will be just as wonderful and just as successful. But we shall never know. Anyways, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll be super happy to see you tomorrow with another video. So, bye!